What if I told you that Pretty Woman, the movie that made millions believe in love, might finally be getting a second chance? After more than 3 decades, whispers are spreading across Hollywood, and they all point to one shocking thing. Netflix could be bringing Pretty Woman 2 to life back in 1990. Pretty Woman wasn't just another romantic comedy, it was a cultural moment. It told the story of Vivian, a struggling woman with a tough past, and Edward, a lonely businessman who didn't know what love really meant until he met her. Together, they created one of the most magical on-screen romances ever seen. Julia Roberts, with her bright smile and undeniable charm, became America's sweetheart overnight. Richard Gere became the dream man every woman wished would pull up in a Silver Lotus Esprit and sweep her away. But Pretty Woman was more than just a Cinderella story. It had heart. It showed us that love doesn't care about background, money, or social status. It just happens. People laughed, cried, and fell in love all over again with the movie's unforgettable moments. The shopping spree scene, the piano scene, and of course the ending when Edward climbs the fire escape, proving that love can conquer fear. Now, more than 30 years later, fans can't help but ask, could that love story continue? Could there really be a Pretty Woman 2? Rumors began to surface quietly online. At first, no one believed them. It started with a few fan theories on social media. Then film blogs began hinting that Netflix had shown unusual interest in reviving classic romantic hits. Some even claimed that the title Pretty Woman, A Second Chance was being used as a working title behind closed doors. Suddenly, the whispers grew louder. Why Netflix? It makes perfect sense. The streaming giant has been known for reviving nostalgic stories, giving them modern twists, while keeping the heart of the originals alive. Think of how they brought back The Crown or Bridgerton, stories filled with emotion, glamour, and heartache. A Pretty Woman sequel fits perfectly into that world. And, if it's true, it could become one of Netflix's biggest releases of 22.5. Fans have been buzzing with excitement and a bit of nervousness. Could anyone recreate the magic of Vivian and Edward? Could Julia Roberts return after all these years? Some insiders suggest that Roberts has quietly met with producers to discuss a legacy project. While nothing has been confirmed, that alone is enough to set Hollywood on fire. After all, it's not every day that one of the most iconic love stories in movie history gets a second act, but before jumping ahead, it's important to remember what made Pretty Woman special in the first place. It wasn't the glitz or the luxury, it was the feeling. That spark between two unlikely people who changed each other's lives forever. The movie reminded us that love can find us in the most unexpected places, and sometimes it's the broken pieces of ourselves that make us perfect for someone else. And that's exactly why the idea of Pretty Woman 2 feels so powerful. It's not just about bringing back old characters, it's about giving love another chance to grow. Even after time, heartbreak, and life have changed everything. So, could it really happen? Could Vivian and Edward return in 2025 to show the world that fairy tales never truly end? As the whispers get louder, fans are holding their breath. Because if Netflix does this right, Pretty Woman 2 won't just be a sequel. It'll be a love letter to everyone who still believes in second chances. It started like every Hollywood rumor does, a quiet murmur in a dark corner of the internet. A fan on Reddit claimed they saw Pretty Woman 2 listed under a secret Netflix production code. No one took it seriously at first. After all, Pretty Woman was sacred. You don't just touch a classic that defined an entire generation of romance films. But then something changed. Within days, movie blogs began dropping hints. One post read, "A major 90s love story is getting the Netflix revival treatment." Another said, "Julia Roberts and Richard Gere might reunite for a new chapter of an old fairy tale." The internet exploded. Soon after, a handful of Hollywood insiders started connecting the dots. Netflix's production calendar for 2025 had an unnamed project listed under the genre tag, Romantic Drama Legacy Revival. The production name? Project Scarlet. To movie fans, that one word felt like a clue, a nod to Vivian's unforgettable red dress. One of the most iconic fashion moments in film history. Coincidence? Maybe, but fans weren't buying that. The internet lit up with speculation, fan edits, and AI-generated posters showing Julia Roberts as an older, wiser Vivian, standing on a rainy New York street. But the real shock came when Julia Roberts herself was spotted leaving a Netflix studio in Los Angeles. Paparazzi photos showed her carrying a script with the words "Second Chances" faintly visible on the side. Within hours, social media was flooded with theories. Was it Pretty Woman 2 in disguise? Or just another project? Even without official confirmation, the public had already made up its mind. The fairy tale was returning. Industry sources close to Netflix began teasing that this wasn't just a remake, it was a continuation. A story about time, forgiveness, and the magic of meeting again when life comes full circle. One anonymous insider reportedly said, "It's not just about love. It's about what happens when the fairy tale ends and real life begins." That one line sent fans into a frenzy. Because that's exactly what people wanted to know. What happened after Edward climbed that fire escape? Did they live happily ever after? Or did life, like it often does, get in the way? Entertainment reporters began reaching out to Julia Roberts' representatives. They didn't deny anything, and that's what made it even more interesting. Silence in Hollywood is louder than words. Then came a small but powerful clue. Netflix's official Twitter account liked a fan post that read, "If Netflix ever brings back Pretty Woman, I'll subscribe for life." No words, no announcement, just a like. But that single click was enough to send shockwaves through movie fandom. Behind the scenes, production rumors began to take shape. It was said that Netflix had approached Gary Marshall's daughter, Kathleen Marshall, to help shape the story, keeping her father's legacy alive. The idea was not to redo the past, but to continue it, to show what love looks like after the credits roll. It was about giving Vivian and Edward a second chance, not in youth, but in wisdom. A love story that reflects how people change, grow apart, and maybe, just maybe, find each other again when they least expect it. Fans started imagining everything, from filming locations in Los Angeles to costume updates for a modern-day Vivian. Some said the movie would be shot in Paris, symbolizing romance and reinvention. Others believed it would return to Beverly Hills, to close the circle where it all began. Theories turned into fan trailers, concept posters, and TikTok clips predicting the storyline. By early 2025, more signs emerged. Netflix quietly registered new social media accounts under the handle at Second Chances Film, and on IMDb placeholder appeared with no cast details but the production year listed as 2025. The moment that happened, it was no longer just gossip, it was movement. Something was happening. Something real. And that's when people started asking the question that no one could ignore anymore. Is Pretty Woman 2 actually happening, or are we all just caught up in the magic of what we want to believe? For fans, the answer didn't even matter. The idea of a sequel had already reignited the emotions the first movie left behind. The laughter, the hope, the belief that love can transform anyone. Whether or not Netflix makes it official, the buzz has already achieved what no press release could. It reminded the world of a story worth remembering because deep down, people don't just want to watch movies. They want to feel something again. And if Pretty Woman 2 really is coming, it's not just another film on the list. It's proof that love stories, no matter how old, never truly fade. Imagine this. The city lights of Los Angeles glow against the night sky, but the streets look different now, older, quieter, touched by time. A woman walks alone down Rodeo Drive, her heels clicking softly against the pavement. The store windows are still filled with diamonds and designer gowns, but she doesn't stop to stare anymore. She's lived that dream. She's seen how glitter fades. The woman is Vivian Ward, no longer the carefree dreamer in a red dress, but a woman who's seen the rise and fall of love, fortune, and fame. This is where Pretty Woman 2 could begin, not with a shopping spree, but with reflection. Vivian, now in her 50s, runs a charity for women who face the same struggles she once did. She's elegant, confident, and unrecognizable to the girl she used to be. Yet deep down, she still carries the same spark, that belief in love, that curiosity about what could have been. Edward Lewis, on the other hand, has lived a different story. The once powerful businessman has retired from the corporate world. His empire has been sold, his wealth donated to philanthropic causes. He's older now, wiser, lonelier. His life is comfortable but quiet, the kind of quiet that keeps you awake at night. One day, while reading the news about a charity gala in Los Angeles, he sees a familiar name, Vivian Ward, and suddenly, 30 years of memories come flooding back. The sequel could revolve around their reunion, two people who shared a perfect love, lost it, and are suddenly given another chance. Not because they planned it, but because life has a way of circling back to unfinished stories. Maybe they meet again at that gala? The moment their eyes lock, the years vanish. The connection, the energy, the warmth, it's all still there, just hidden beneath layers of time and regret. But this wouldn't be a fairy tale anymore. It would be real, raw, and emotional. Vivian isn't waiting for rescue this time. She's built her life on her own terms. And Edward isn't the man in the limousine anymore. He's learning what love means when there's no business deal to hide behind. Their chemistry, once playful and fiery, is now softer but deeper, the kind that comes from two people who've lived, lost, and learned. The story could explore how love changes with age, how the heart remembers even when the mind tries to move on. Maybe they try to reconnect, but old wounds resurface. Vivian could still feel hurt by how their story ended. Edward might struggle with guilt for choosing work over love all those years ago. Their conversations would be filled with honesty and longing, the kind of emotional tension only time can create. Then there's the modern twist. Perhaps a younger character enters the story, a journalist, or maybe Vivian's daughter, someone who reminds them of who they used to be. Through her eyes, we see the contrast between modern love and timeless love. The world has changed, but the emotions haven't. Love is still messy. It's still brave. It still hurts in all the same ways. Netflix could weave these layers together into something both nostalgic and new, a love story for an older generation, but one that speaks to everyone. The film might even echo the original's iconic moments, the laughter, the rooftop scene, the idea of rescue, but this time it's not one saving the other. It's both learning to save themselves. The title Pretty Woman, A Second Chance, would carry deeper meaning. It wouldn't just be about rekindling a romance, it would be about redemption, about forgiving the past, accepting who you've become, and realizing that love isn't a single chapter in life. It's a thread that keeps pulling you forward. Even when you think the story is over. By the end, we could see Vivian and Edward standing together again. Not as fantasy characters, but as real people, older, imperfect, but still capable of feeling that same spark that changed their lives decades ago. Maybe he doesn't climb a fire escape this time. Maybe she walks toward him, both meeting halfway, symbolizing how love evolves when two people finally learn to meet each other on equal ground. It's the kind of ending that doesn't need fireworks or dramatic music. Just a quiet smile, a shared glance, and the sense that after all this time, they found their way back, not to the past, but to something even better, peace, understanding, and love that survived everything life threw at it. Because sometimes the greatest fairy tales don't happen when you're young and fearless. They happen when you've lived enough to know what love really means. What would you do if the love of your life suddenly came back decades after the story was supposed to end? That's the question echoing across the internet right now. Fans who grew up watching Pretty Woman aren't just feeling nostalgic, they're feeling emotional. Because this isn't just a sequel rumor anymore, it's a conversation about love, aging, and the kind of stories we still crave in a world full of noise and fleeting connections. As whispers about Pretty Woman 2 grow louder, social media has turned into a flood of emotions. On TikTok, fans are recreating the iconic scenes, the shopping montage, the big mistake moment, the final rooftop rescue, but with a twist. The trend? What if it happened today? Users film themselves as older versions of Vivian and Edward, telling modern stories of love lost and found. The hashtag Pretty Woman 2 has already collected millions of views, filled with comments like, "We don't want perfection. We want closure. Across Reddit and X, formerly Twitter, discussions dive deeper. People aren't just talking about whether the film should be made, they're talking about why it matters. One fan wrote, "Pretty Woman showed us how love begins. Pretty Woman 2 could show us how love survives." Another said, "It's not about reliving the past. It's about healing it." Those words hit hard because, at its heart, the world has changed since 1990, yet our longing for genuine connection hasn't. Critics are already speculating about what this means for Hollywood. In a time when sequels often feel like recycled nostalgia, Pretty Woman 2 could be something more, a mirror for everyone who's grown older with the original movie. Back then, viewers saw themselves in Vivian's daring hope and Edward's cautious heart. Now, decades later, they see themselves in their quiet reflections, in the heartbreaks, the lost chances, and the small sparks of hope that never completely fade. And then there's Julia Roberts herself, the face that defined an era. Fans can't stop imagining what it would mean to see her return, not as a young dreamer, but as a woman who's lived a full life. A face with lines of laughter, eyes that have seen joy and loss, a beauty that tells a story. People say Hollywood rarely gives older women the chance to lead love stories, but this one could change that. It could show that romance doesn't expire. It evolves. Netflix, of course, hasn't confirmed anything. Their silence has only made things more electric. Every post, every leak, every subtle tease sends viewers into a frenzy. There are theories that the trailer could drop during Valentine's Day 2025, the perfect time to reawaken the magic. Some claim the score will reuse the timeless "It Must Have Been Love," but in a softer, piano-only version to symbolize maturity and reflection. Whether true or not, it paints a picture that feels hauntingly beautiful. The anticipation has reached beyond film circles. Relationship experts, columnists, and even psychologists have begun discussing why the world wants this sequel so badly. Maybe it's because we're living in a time when love feels fragile, swiped away with a thumb, ghosted without reason. Pretty Woman 2 isn't just a movie. It's a symbol. It reminds us of when love stories had patience, when connection felt deep, and when grand gestures weren't about money or power but courage and timing. Imagine the ending. Vivian and Edward don't ride off into the sunset this time. Maybe they just sit together watching it, hand in hand, grateful. Because life isn't about starting over. It's about continuing even when the story doesn't go the way you planned. That's what fans hope to see. Not another fantasy, but truth wrapped in tenderness. A kind of ending that feels less like goodbye and more like coming home. And that's why, whether Pretty Woman 2 becomes real or stays a dream, it's already touched millions. It's reignited that question everyone asks at least once in life. If you had a second chance with the one that got away, would you take it? As the world waits, one thing is certain: Netflix has the world's attention. Whether they confirm it tomorrow or next year, the buzz has already done its magic. Pretty Woman isn't just being remembered. It's being reborn. So maybe, just maybe, in 2025 we'll see those city lights glow again. Maybe we'll hear that familiar melody playing as a limousine door opens and a voice says, "So what happens after the fairy tale?" And maybe this time the answer will be simple. Love happens again. Pretty Woman 2, a second chance, coming soon.